Okay, let's start with Gita Dhyana. Om. O Bhagavad Gita, by which Arjuna was illumined by Lord Krishna himself, and which was composed of 18 chapters within the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Divine Mother, destroyer of rebirth, who showers the nectar of oneness upon us. O Bhagavad Gita, my affectionate mother, on thee I meditate. All the Upanishads are the cows. The milker is the cowherd boy, Krishna. Arjuna is the calf. The people of purified intellect are the drinkers. And the milk is the supreme nectar of the Gita. My salutations to the Lord, who is the source of supreme bliss, whose grace makes the mute eloquent and the crippled cross mountains. Hari Om Tat Sat. So this morning we begin chapter 11. Chapter 11 is one of the most famous chapters of the Gita. And the reason is because it's a phantasmagoria. So it's the yoga of the cosmic vision. And in it, Lord Krishna gives us the cosmic vision and helps us to see him as the universe, or the universe as him. Let's pick this up. Oh, that's not. Yay! This Bhagavad Gita was copied, well used, as you can tell, by Swami Arjuna Krishna Ananda, who had been residing at the yoga farm. And I've shared before, I had the opportunity to serve and support him as he was preparing to leave the body. So as you can probably tell, he read it every day. Every day. So it has a beautiful Shakti. Okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. And he earmarked some of the pages.
We would love to come down and make vegetable fried rice.
Yes. Yes. He actually, a little story about Swamiji. So several years before, he had walked into the San Francisco Shivananda Center, and he'd said, "How can I serve?" And they said, "Well, we need a cook." And he had never cooked, but he said, "Okay, I'll do that." Yes, he had never cooked. And so he was a quick study. He learned quickly, and we really enjoyed what he served at the yoga farm, didn't we? Yeah. So he learned it well. And vegetable fried rice with tofu, that was his number one dish to offer. So we're still in Tat. We're still in the section where the Absolute is describing itself, himself, herself. And it helps to keep in mind that the purpose of what we're going through now is still dealing with the direct question of Arjuna: how can I meditate upon you? So Arjuna had exclaimed that I know who you are now, and I wish to keep my mind focused on you at all times. So please tell me how to meditate upon you. what is the most propitious method? What is the best method? And so in that perspective, we had the list of the greatest of the greats, the gambling and the greatest gambler, the intelligence and the most intelligent, the self in oneself, all of this. Yes? So beautiful. And it was really wonderful to be able to read through all of that and for us all to be present for all of that yesterday. So this is continuing, it's still that same question, as it were, which is, how can I meditate upon thee? Where are you? How can I find you and how can I meditate upon you? Okay, so Arjuna begins chapter 11. By this word, explanation that is, of the highest secret concerning this self, capital S self, which thou hast spoken, for the sake of blessing me, my delusion is gone. So it's a little bit of an unusual way to hear it in terms of the English. The word by word is very close to that. For the sake of blessing me, the highest, the secret called Adhyatma, nature of self, capital S self, which by the spoken word, by that delusion, this gone my. So the word for word looks like that. So Swami Shivananda puts it together this way. By this word or this explanation of the highest secret concerning the self which thou hast spoken, only for the sake of blessing me, that's added. My delusion is gone. So that's actually exactly what Arjuna says in the 18th chapter. It doesn't change. So here we are in the 11th, 7 more chapters, and he's realized. So, but what's the rest of it about? Well, we could say for us. The rest of it, we could say like that. We can say to enumerate more clearly the way to realize. But he says, my delusion is gone. So we recognize what the delusion is. Oh. Yeah? Oh, Devi?
Although we're not in guilt.
Well, it's the taking oneself to be this, and we can say also alone, incomplete, all of this.
Yeah.
So that's the delusion. And so he says, now it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. You blessed me with this knowledge. So really, and I was looking at Swami Venkatesh commentary this morning. He makes the point that this is indicative that really the Bhagavad Gita is finished. The teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is finished at the end of the 10th chapter. Why? Because Arjuna says the same thing now as he says at the 18th when Lord Krishna asks him, have you reconciled all of this? Do you understand now? And at that point, again, Arjuna says, yes, my delusion is clear. And then Lord Krishna gives him his instruction, which is, then do as you will. So,
good job.
Yes. Not before, but then. Do as you will. Oh. So, Swami Shivananda adds some commentary here. He says, after hearing the glories of the Lord, Arjuna has an intense longing to have the wonderful vision of the cosmic form with his own eyes. His bewilderment and delusion have now vanished. And he explains adhyatma, that word that was used, that which treats the discrimination between the self and the non-self, or metaphysics. Discrimination, we usually search and replace these days with discernment. Discrimination didn't mean what it means now societally. So usually in modern age we say discernment. But discerning between the real and the ephemeral, the real and the non-real. So adhyatma is that which treats it, or the teaching of the knowledge of the self. Or we can say what treats it is the learning the nature of the self, of oneself. And in learning the nature of oneself, learning the nature of the world, learning the relationship between I and God, and I and you, and all of this. So that's said to be adhyatma, the teaching on the nature of atma, soul. And soul is everywhere here. And that treats of the discrimination between, so it supports that. Okay. So Swami Shivananda continues. He takes back to the first chapter, Arjuna saying, I was worried about the sin involved in killing my relatives and preceptors. I had the ideas I am the agent in killing them. They are to be killed by me. And this delusion has vanished now after receiving thy most profound and valuable instructions. Thou hast dispelled this delusion of ignorance from me. The vision of the cosmic form is not the ultimate goal. If that were so, the Gita would have ended with this chapter. The vision of the cosmic form is also one more in a series of graded experiences. It is a terrible experience too, Swami Shivananda adds. That is the reason why Arjuna said to the Lord, stammering with fear, what an awful form thou hast. I have seen that which none hath seen before. My heart is glad, yet faileth me on account of fear. Show me, O God, thine other form again. So Swami Shivananda is introducing this one, saying how profound the impact was on Arjuna. O God of gods, support of all the worlds, let me see thy form with the diadem and with the mace and discus in thy hands. Again, I wish to see thee as before. Assume thy four-legged form, four-armed form, O Lord of thousand arms and forms innumerable. Arjuna heard the Lord's statement, that is, having pervaded this whole universe with one fragment of myself, I remain. And that's how the 10th closed. This induced him to have the vision of the Lord's cosmic form. He says, O Lord of compassion, thou hast taught me the spiritual wisdom which can hardly be found in the Vedas. Thou hast saved me. My delusion has disappeared. Thou hast disclosed to me the nature of the Supreme Self, the secrets of nature, and thy divine glories. My greatest ambition at the present moment is that I should behold with my own eyes thy entire cosmic form. So Swami Shivananda commenting on the bhava, the feeling of this moment. Arjuna continues. The origin and the destruction of beings verily have been heard by me in detail from thee, O lotus-eyed Lord, and also thy inexhaustible greatness. Now, O Supreme Lord, as thou hast thus described thyself, O Supreme Person, I wish to see thy divine form. So he's not just asking, let me see you. He's asking, let me see all of you in this universal form. If thou, O Lord, thinkest it possible for me to see it, do thou then, O Lord of the Yogans, show me thy imperishable self. And a little commentary from Master Shivananda. Arjuna is very keen and eager to see the cosmic form of the Lord. He prays to him to grant him the vision. This supreme vision can be obtained only through his grace. Yogeshvara also means the Lord of Yoga. A yogi is one who is endowed with the 8 psychic powers, the siddhis. The Lord of the Yogins is Yogeshvara. And yoga is identity of the individual soul with the Absolute. He who is able to bestow this realization of identity on the deserving spiritual aspirant is Yogeshvara. He who is able to create, preserve, destroy, veil, and graciously release is the Lord. These 5 actions, Panchakriyas, are known respectively as Shristi, Stiti, Samhara, Tirodhana, and Anugraha. Again, he who's able to create, preserve, destroy, veil, and then graciously release is the Lord. And then Lord Krishna begins. And here it's not just talking, so it's narrated. The Blessed Lord said, "Behold, O Arjuna, forms of mind by the hundreds and thousands of different sorts, divine and of various colors and shapes." So you could imagine he touches him on the third eye, and the cosmic vision opens. And so Krishna narrates at the beginning of it. He says, "Behold, O Arjuna," so now he's given us that. The forms of mind by the hundreds and thousands of different sorts, divine and of various colors and shapes. Now, we have, so the teaching is ancient, timeless, of course. But Bhagavad Gita is said to have been given. So Bhagavad Gita is the essence of the Upanishads. That's the Gita Dhyanam that we repeat, So, O Bhagavad Gita, by which Arjuna was illumined by Lord Krishna himself, and which was composed of 18 chapters from within the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Divine Mother, destroyer of rebirth, who showers the nectar of oneness upon us, O Bhagavad Gita, my affectionate mother, on thee I meditate. All the Upanishads are the cows. The milker is the cowherd boy, Krishna. Arjuna is the calf. People of purified intellect are the drinkers. The milk is the supreme nectar of the Gita. And then continuing. We had to start at the beginning because this mind needed it in context in order to go to that essential part. So the teaching is not new teaching. The teaching is universal teaching. But the Bhagavad Gita was given to us at a specific time. It is said that before the beginning of the Kali Yuga, that good and bad, as it were discrete. So more easy to see, more clear. But at the beginning of the Kali Yuga, both became prominent within each. So Kali Yuga then is the age where the veiling became more extreme, and where the discernment has to be used inside to separate the wheat from the chaff, to separate that eternal from the temporal. So in other words, Kali Yuga is the age of a greater veiling that began, so called the Iron Age, like that. So this teaching, the Bhagavad Gita very specifically, is said to have been given, and Lord Krishna is Kalidas, one of our dear family, asked a question 2 days ago. We talked about Vyasa for a moment in the 10th chapter when Lord Krishna said, amongst the sages, I am Vyasa. And the question was, and I said something about Vyasa is a great mythological figure. And so the question was, is he real? And the answer is yes, yes, of course he's real because he's Krishna. Krishna is he. So we can't say he's not real, but we can also say he's mythological because we don't know about his physical birth, when it happened, anything like that. It's really such ancient time. Vyasa's always been with us, and he's still with us now. Here we are reading the Bhagavad Gita, studying the Gita. So is he real? Yeah, of course he's real. In the same way, the teaching is ancient, pre-ancient. In this case, Lord Krishna, we're convinced that he was physically here, whatever that means, to be physically here. Interesting concepts.
Took a form.
No, I mean, especially when we look at cosmic physics and we really dive into what's being said, it's here in God mind, here in the play within God's mind, who is Krishna, and then the character Krishna was in the flesh as well. And historians will argue about the timing of it, like we argue about everything. But beginning of Kali Yuga, like that, beginning of Kali Yuga. And so this teaching was given very specifically at the beginning of Kali Yuga to deal with this problem that we have. Not just the problem of delusion, but the particular manifestation of it in this time, where each of us have both the light and the shadow within us, and we're confused as to which is which. So you can imagine in prior times less confusion about that, and some who reveled in living in the shadow. And there are many stories of them. The great demons that knew they were demonic and loved it. But in this age, the demons are inside of us. We don't really love them, and we don't understand them, and we tend to follow them because of our delusion. So it's a unique situation we're in as a result of this, right? We're following voices and guidances within us that are leading us to suffering, and we don't know it. And if we knew it, we would stop. Because we really don't love to suffer, contrary to popular notion. We don't love to suffer. We find a comfort in suffering because it's the known. And the absolute is the unknown. Huh? Yes. What's known is yesterday. And we can imagine tomorrow, but we find ourselves unable to be present with now, which is also a very unique situation, you know. It seems like it's normal, but it's not really natural. It's natural to be right here, right now. So we're rekindling this in this time. Individually, within each soul, we're rekindling the fire of the presence to the present. Being present to what's here. And so the teaching that's being shared is unique to this. So, the vision is given. We've received. And now, Swamiji adds commentary. He says, with a shudder of excitement and divine anticipation, we now enter the kingdom of direct realization. As we shall presently see, this realization is extra-sensory, so beyond the senses, and even extra-rational, so even beyond the ability to comprehend. The senses function only within an extremely narrow and limited field. We can grasp that rationally. We can grasp that the senses are only functioning within a very limited field. The rational faculties are similarly bound by certain traditional laws and codes fed into the intellect by eons of ignorance. The only relevant answer to the question, how do you know that God or the ultimate reality exists, is the counter question, why do you speak through your mouth? Honest rationalization is bound to lead one to a logical absurdity or cul-de-sac, for ignorance is the parent of intellect whose offspring is logic. Here's the absurdity of it. In this age, logic with all of the baggage that we're carrying in this modern intellect, logic leads us to a cul-de-sac. It leads us to a dead end, which is what? You hear the great scientists saying, where did consciousness come from? Well, it arose spontaneously from proteins. Well, where did the proteins come from?
Right. Keep going.
You see, you end up in a circle that goes nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we all have been suffering with. Is the way this mind has been working, we're dealing with something that is beyond it. Huh? So, and by the way, here's the way it works with science. I mean, we took this time, we appreciated all of this, but look at where it comes from. Look at where it goes. The same thing. You end up in this cul-de-sac and you get this argument, this discussion from what are the big problems in terms of this line of thought, this approach, this what we say modern, rational, scientific approach. What are the big problems with it? Well, the biggest questions remain unanswered and unanswerable.
Yeah.
What is life? Where did it come from? Don't ask me that.
We'll figure it out.
What was before the Big Bang? Don't ask me that.
Right.
Where did the I come from? This experiential consciousness, this subject. Where did it come from? Don't ask me that. Everything else I can explain.
What is love?
Biological.
Yeah. Right.
So from that place, then you can answer everything. Will it be right? No. But it'll be leading. It can't be right. Not completely. Because there's no understanding of those. Yeah. So it can't be completely right, but it can be intelligent. Whose intelligence, by the way?
That's true too.
Neurons.
Neurons. Photons firing. The intelligence of the photons firing. So you see cul-de-sac, what he's talking about. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's where the best of our rational minds in this age will lead us. So it's a dead end. And that's where it takes us. And that's why the scientists won't cross over unless they meditate upon it. And they realize, I don't know. And then what? And they allow themselves to be present. Instead of constantly trying to work it out in the rational mind. And then intuition flashes. Oh.
Well, plus the people who wrote the curriculums for schools knew these answers, but they didn't want us to know it because
Kartikeya,
we'd be free.
Kartikeya, I'm sorry, but that's absolutely not it. You know, normally what you add, so don't stop adding.
Yeah.
But on that, I just, no.
Yeah.
No, Kartikeya. But thank you.
Yeah. Deep in fact.
I'll give you an A for effort, though. Oh. So extra rational is what he's sharing. Extra rational. In other words, beyond the capacity of the mind to grasp. So this is why we laugh. So it says the only relevant answer to the question, how do you know that God or the ultimate reality exists? The only good answer, he says, is the counter question, why do you speak through your mouth? Oh. Okay, we'll come back and actually we won't come back this morning. I'm actually remembering. Yeah, we might. So we need to decide now, because I want our family who join us online to know. Tomorrow morning, Bhagavad Gita. I'll be in Yuma tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, Bhagavad Gita. Yes, and then Sunday morning, try the walking meditation. Okay. Oh, so tomorrow morning we'll pick up here. Oh. Okay. Any questions or comments? We're just beginning the phantasmagoria. We're just beginning he's touched the third eye, and we're just beginning to see. Oh. We continue. We continue to open the third eye then. We continue to come into the place where we see what's here. Strip off the veil. Okay, page 174, Final Prayers in Arti. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushdevardhanam Orvai Rukmeva Bandhanan Mritor Mukshiyamamritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushdevardhanam Orvai Rukmeva Bandhanan Mritor Mukshiyamamritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushdevardhanam Orvai Rukmeva Bandhanan Mritor Mukshiyamamritat Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Shantu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashantu Makashi Dukhabhak Bhave Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityur Mahamritam Gamaya Om Purnamida Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O adorable Lord of mercy and love, salutations and prostrations unto thee. Thou art omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Thou art Satchitananda. Thou art existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. Thou art the indweller of all beings. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion, and wisdom. Grant us inner spiritual strength to resist temptation and to control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, anger, greed, hatred, and jealousy. Fill our hearts with divine virtues. Let us behold thee in all these names and forms. Let us serve thee in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember thee. Let us ever sing thy glories. Let thy name be ever on our lips. Let us abide in thee forever and ever. On below Sakguru Shivananda Maharaj Ki, and for all of the saints and sages of all the traditions. Jai.